Welcome home, Raiders. This week, the wait continues for WoD, and the natives are getting restless. Thankfully, we have some cross-realm goodness to talk about, and maybe even BlizzCon to look forward to. This is Convert to Raid number 136.
You're listening to Convert to Raid, the podcast for raiders in the World of Warcraft.
Command Center in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Today is March 23rd, 2014, and it is now 11:15 a.m. Central Daylight Time. Thank you so much for joining us from all around World of Warcraft. And my name is Pat Krane. I am your host for today's show, as always. And I'm also known as Zug on Airy Peak US. Still raiding, still doing the 25-man thing, and that's pretty cool. It is pretty cool. And the players are here as well. And let's go to Beantown. No, Darius did not move back. But he is a priest. He's a priest. It's Derevka. Hey, D.
Hey.
How you doing, man?
How's it going? I'm good. We don't want Darius back.
Right.
So,
no.
West Coast can keep him.
That's right. And by the way, congratulations on your recent engagement.
Thank you. It was been a crazy week.
Yeah, I bet.
The hard part was finding out the people that we needed to tell before we actually had brunch with a pretty big group of people, because at that point it would have been game over.
Right. Right.
You let 6 gay men know news, and so we had spent the whole morning calling family, friends, being like, hey, it's 9:30 in the morning on a Sunday. I'm not calling with bad news. Can you guess?
Well, now you're telling the entire World of Warcraft. Isn't that awesome? There we go. All right, let's go out to Hollyweird, California, to our funky monk, Koltrane. Hello, sir.
Fortune cookies say.
Oh, boy.
Enhancement shaman who wins beans eating contest. Likely to cast Unleash Wind.
I'm waiting for the chat room before I weigh in on this one.
He's gonna fart.
Isn't it Wind Shear and Unleash Elements?
Look, it's called the way the fortune
by the way,
was written said Unleash Wind.
Hey, big applause to Derevka for messing that up. That's good. I like it.
I will say, if any of you are upset about that particular fortune, that was sent in by Celestalon, which means we can blame Celestalon.
Wow.
Blame,
really?
Blame, Celestalon.
So maybe what it is that this is a new spell for Warlords. That's the new spell name.
Right.
Maybe, because he's getting all confused now because Warlords, he's heavily into, developing all that stuff. So if he got the spell wrong.
Starting.
We can talk about that in a minute. But if he's saying that, maybe that does mean it's a new spell.
Maybe that's one heck of a way to drop hints. Maybe, or like a spoiler, Unleash Wind.
Oh. Although I don't really think Unleash Wind is really going to be a thing.
You don't think so?
How much would that get made fun of?
Right. There should be it's called Unleash Wind. I mean, we have to gather people. We might as well Unleash Wind.
Right, exactly. All right, well, let's talk about this week in WoW. And Derevka, what have you been up to? What have you been doing? I know that your team is done with heroic progression, right? So
yeah, so we're basically down to heroics full clear in one night. I've been spending a lot of time this week filling around in heroes, which
you're in the heroes alpha.
Yeah, it's fun. I am not good at MOBAs though.
Yes. You know who's not in the heroes alpha?
Yeah,
Pat Krane.
Colt, did you get in, Koltrane?
No, I haven't gotten in. But
all right, so it's us two. All right.
I know that you're really upset about it, so that's why I like to mention that we're not in.
I think I'm initially upset. I'm like, oh, damn it.
It is buggy though. I mean, it's clearly alpha.
Right.
But it's fun. I mean, I think the big thing for me is I'm a big fan of the whole cross franchise aspect of it.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of fun. And I don't know, I've been playing a lot of Tyrael and blanking on whatever the StarCraft melee assassin version of it is. He's a little
Zola?
spiky thing. No, can't remember his name. Clearly, I'm a fan of that.
Right. Love you some StarCraft.
But it is kind of cool that they're combining all the franchises and putting them together in this game, and it's really cool the kind of the way that they've presented it, where you have, I think it's like five or six options to choose from that are just free every week, and
much of the League of Legends,
yeah,
platform similar,
right. So you can get to know these characters. It's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. Well, enjoy that alpha, you jerk. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Koltrane, what have you been doing?
Holy cow, I've got a tale.
Oh.
A tale of kick butt in a raid team known as Rectify.
Rectify!
Yeah!
Rectified.
Yeah! Holy cow!
Oh, man.
Rectified, baby. 10-man team, 4 hours a week, kicking butt in good old Siege. So here's what happened this week. So it was time for heroics, right? So we're kind of stepping into heroics. This team's just getting going. So we downed once again this week. We decided, okay, we're going to dedicate the whole 4 hours to heroics.
Yeah.
So we did the usuals. We got the Immersius, we got the Protectors, we got Nourishgen, we got the Shah, a little bit of the Gallicrass in there, right? We're working our way on up. Progression boss time, Iron Juggernaut. Third pull, down.
Wow. Very nice. Very nice. I'll give you the big applause for that one.
Yeah,
that's good.
I died, but that's all right.
Now, how did you
standing in like the oil or something?
No, well, I was, so say phase 2, right? You got the seismic, he blows you back, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'm using the cooldowns on each one. Like everything's gravy, right? I'm not taking any damage. It's going great. I'm doing awesome. It's when we get back, he goes back into assault mode.
Yeah.
Both times. Here I'm going running back. Everything's fine. I'm singing to myself. Here I come again on my own. And suddenly, like somebody's being targeted by the laser, or I don't know what happens. Anyway, it hits some oil, and I get like one shot for like 300K. So I died, but it wasn't my fault. But
Were
I
you
died.
targeted by the laser?
No, it wasn't me. I swear, it wasn't me. So I died the first time, and then they're like, all right, Res Colt. And I'm like, all right, here we go. We're back in it. And then phase 2 starts. And then it's like time to run back in, and I die again. Someone else is targeted. I blow up for another 300K. So, but anyway, we got him down, which was great. And then we stepped into heroic dark shamans.
Ooh.
Now, the typical strategy is a 3-tank strategy.
Correct.
So guess who got to be
Brewmaster.
You're the off tank. Oh, yeah. Nice.
I stepped in as a brewmaster.
Right.
And holy cow. Okay, so tanking in a heroic level raid, believe it or not, is quite a bit different than a 5-man heroic dungeon. I gotta tell you, there's a lot more going on. So basically what happened was I switched to brewmaster. I'm like, all right, here we go. And I'm kind of freaked out. First time tanking, like really tanking in a raid. I'm like, okay, I gotta keep my shuffle up. I don't want to use that fire breath that's going to waste my chi. Shuffle's most important. I got to do this, that. Okay, here we go. So we go in, and then Elder Shield, the tank goes, all right, Colt, taunt. All right, Colt, taunt. I'm like, oh, okay. So I taunt, and then this giant orc, full clad in battle armor, swings his axe right down on my head, and I do the little shuffle thing. So I'm like, okay, here we go. But it just like, it freaks you out. Because if you're not used to tanking,
right,
and then he's this thing, and it's just like beating the heck out of you, and your health bar is just doing this, it was crazy. So basically, the first pull, I'm tanking him. Okay, keep shuffle up. I'm moving him into position, whatever, and then we wipe. And I asked the healer, how was I? And they're like, oh, well, you were a little squishy. I'm like, oh, really? I'm keeping up. And then I realized that I was so concentrating on shuffle and everything that I wasn't rolling like any cooldowns whatsoever.
Right.
Like, at all. Like I wasn't using any ability as I was so freaked out.
So you were just like in panic mode the entire time?
I was totally panicked because if you're not used to tanking, here's this thing on you,
right.
and and it's just wailing on you. So anyway, I actually really enjoyed it. Brewmaster, a lot of fun tanking. So we only did, I think, about 3 pulls, 3 or 4 pulls, and we got him to, I think, like 45% when we called it for the day. So the team's looking great.
Awesome.
We had a lot of fun, but I was kind of getting it towards the end, and I was trying to place walls and do all this stuff. But yeah, so I tried out tanking in a heroic raid for the first time. So.
That's cool.
It was fun, man. It was fun. It's a crazy thing.
That's awesome.
I thought you were going to tell me you were in an ox stance or something.
Right. I know.
You didn't have the statue up, and you didn't.
Well, I did forget the statue the first 2 times. I did forget it.
It happens.
Yeah, and then I forgot.
Why am I not putting bubbles on people? What's going on?
Exactly. Got art. I forgot, the elusive brew. There's a couple of things I forgot, but I started to get the hang of it towards the end. So,
Right.
So the team Rectify is doing great, and we're actually going to start recruiting at some point here in the near future for Warlords.
Oh.
So we're gonna go Mythic. We're gonna go Mythic. So
That's awesome.
looking for that. Yeah. So we'll have an announcement on the show here soon when we're gonna start that and get that whole ball rolling.
Cool.
So it's been
Cool.
great.
Very cool. Well, I know that this week for the Asparagus Initiative was, for me personally, it was kind of a weird night on the Sunday night when we normally do our progression stuff. So we did, the first few bosses on heroic like normal, and we kind of made our way through that as far as the team goes. But as far as like it went for me, I was on the bench. I was riding the bench.
What?
I was riding the bench, but I kind of volunteered for it though. Because
What do you mean you were riding the bench?
I was riding the bench. We have so many damn healers that it's just impossible, right? We have I think we have 6 healers and 6, and maybe one guy has an off spec as well. So we have to figure out exactly what's going on with all the healing stuff. So I decided, I didn't really need any loot from the first few bosses, and so I rode the pine. I rode the bench on that first night, and it was kind of weird. I was still in Vent. I was in Mumble. I was still participating with the team as far as what I could, trying to help out with things, but it was weird. I did Immersius, but then after that I was like, no, if we need to sit somebody, I can go out. That's totally fine. But then the next night I was with the group for the rest of the clear for the dungeon and stuff like that. So it was fine on that Monday night. Now that we're doing 2 nights a week, it's kind of weird too. It's just a very strange transition. And this is one of the things that I don't think that a lot of people realize is when you go from 10 to 25, you actually boost up your team to 27 people or 30. Some teams go to 30 people because they need that coverage, and sometimes you have to ride the bench. That's just the way that it goes.
Even more so on the healer front too.
Oh, really? Is that
because the fights swing dramatically with the number of healers you need fight to fight. There's no real consistent number. Between 25, some fights is 3. Other fights, depending on progression, can be upwards of 7 or 8.
Right.
8 is an extreme. Thok was a poorly designed fight, as we've talked about before. But
right,
it's pain because it's like, okay, I need 3 healers to volunteer to sit.
Yeah,
ready, set, go.
Yep. And I'm hoping that they get this kind of figured out for Warlords. It sounds like with all the changes for healing and health and damage, incoming damage, that we're going to see some changes to healing, and I hope that they kind of make it a little bit more consistent. So instead of, anywhere from 5 to 8 or 9 healers, whatever the case may be, you'll go from 4 to 6 or 4 to 5 or something like that.
That's never going to happen because of the players. Like Blizzard will design these Mythic raids around, I think it's like 5 healers. I think they mentioned possibly was the idea.
Like that,
yeah, 5. But players will always try and find that edge. Well, if we do it with 8 healers, then it's a lot easier. If we do it with 3 healers, then it's easier.
Right.
Exactly.
It just depends on the DPS side of it as well. So, and whatever the damage is. So.
I've just always been so impressed. And Derevka, you being a hardcore heroic level raider, how you guys can find these little niches, well, if we do this, then, it's easier this way, or we do that,
It's not fun sometimes. It's just not fun to be like, okay, we have, like, a great example was like, okay, we have 2 disc priests in the raid, so we can theoretically 3 heal this, which then kind of brings the whole level of, okay, this is the raid comp we absolutely have to have. And if I have a work conflict or my connection on my flight home gets delayed, it's like womp, 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 womp. Like it turns the whole thing upside down.
Right.
And, while, we are fairly competitive, we don't run a very, huge roster. We're actually running it fairly lean. I think we only have right now active rating, I want to say 29. So if we have more than a handful out, we run short.
Right.
And right now, it's all like, how many healers want to sit? And it's a fight right now to who gets to sit, not who has to sit.
Right.
Yeah, and that was kind of it for me, too. I mean, I was like, I can sit. I might as well sit. We have, a couple of disc priests. We have a bunch of new people. Let's keep the new people in there and really see how those guys are doing, make sure that they're gelling with the rest of the group. Because, I'm playing a druid, so I don't really expect to have high numbers anyway, especially with 2 disc priests in the group. And so I was like, yeah, that's fine. I can sit. That's not really a big deal for me. And especially if I don't need the gear. I mean, who cares? But, yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
How far did you guys get?
I'm trying to remember how far, because I wasn't in on the heroic progression. I think, we got through Shaw on heroic.
That's awesome. That's great.
For a new group, that's really good. And for the server, it's actually not bad either. For the server, I know we're top 10, or we were last time that I checked. As far as 25 mans go, we were top 10 on the server, and I think we might be closer to top 5 on the server, which is weird. I mean, you don't need many heroics on Airy Peak, apparently, for 25 man to be ranking. So
we're ranked up there too. Actually,
nice.
we're in the top 10, I think, for a 10 man, and it's like, well, we raid 4 hours a week. Like, all right, cool,
right, exactly.
It's awesome.
Well, and it's really cool because we have so many different co-guilds on Airy Peak that it's really cool to look up WoW progress and then look up Airy Peak and go, okay, how many convert to raid guilds are in the top 10 for either 25 or 10 man?
Right.
That's awesome. I love seeing that. It's just
pretty crazy.
It's just a really active community.
I just pulled up Airy Peak on WoW Progress, and it's just funny. It's just like CTR.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's pretty fun, and it's really great that we have. So I mean, when you have like 90 plus raid teams or whatever we have, you're gonna end up with some of them in the top 10. So
you got to come to the peak, baby, the Airy Peak.
That's right, and a lot of people have been doing that the last couple of weeks because of the level 90 boost. So thank you guys, thank you guys, all the new guys for coming over. It's been a lot of fun to welcome a bunch of new people into the guild and create more guilds.
Oh yes,
I did.
I can't wait to talk about boost later.
Total?
I created another one this week, and so we're up to 10 co-guilds. Of course, the 10th one it has like 25 members in it or something like that. We're just getting the officers in there, but it's craziness over on Airy Peak right now.
There is a great guild name on your server, which I think is just.
Which one?
It's mail spelt like chainmail, MAIL, so it's mail enhancement.
Jeez, please.
I like it.
And they're ranked. They are up there.
They are ranked.
It's just a great name.
There are a lot of great guilds on Airy Peak too. So I mean, there's lots of stuff happening over there, not just CTR. That's for sure. Hey, one thing before we get going, and this is actually in your neck of the woods there, Derevka. Blizzard is going to be at PAX East this year.
I will be in Vermont.
Jeez.
Womp womp.
If you're in the Boston area in April 11th through the 13th, Blizzard is going to be at PAX East, and PAX East is kind of like the kickoff point for all the cons for the summer. Really.
Oh, okay. No, I will not be in Vermont.
You will not be in Vermont.
No.
You're going to be in town.
I actually am in town.
Look,
you gotta go, man.
You gotta go.
I went like 2 years ago and I was so bored. I know I'm a horrible nerd.
What?
There are so many cool games coming out this year, though.
Jeez,
and I'm sure that they're all going to be at at
I
PAX.
know, but like the expo center is like in like the middle of nowhere.
Oh, really?
There's no good places down there.
Well,
there's like
You are
2 bars.
losing- You are losing nerd cred, sir. You are losing nerd cred.
That's
Come
right.
on, it's
That's right.
back.
I'm not gonna go. I'm gonna go to the gym instead.
And then I'm gonna watch sports.
Go team sports ball game.
Right. Right. Well, with that, we're just going to move into the news, I guess.
Calling all raiders from around World of Warcraft land. This is raiding news.
All right, it's time to check out what's happening around with rating news around World of Warcraft. And first up is not about rating, really, but it is. We'll start on the World Wide Web. What do you say?
Yes.
Because there was a big update to one of the Blizzard sites going on, and that deals with BlizzCon. They actually posted up. They changed the year on the BlizzCon page to say BlizzCon 2014.
You sure it's not just coded like % year and it just fills it in?
That could be. It definitely could be. But Colt, what are your thoughts here? Are you excited about this?
Well, it sounds to me like BlizzCon changed the year to 2014. Whoa!
Whoa!
Holy cow! No, I mean, this is good. I mean, they talked about that there would be another BlizzCon the following year. There would be next year. I gotta tell you though, like I feel, and maybe I just got used to not having a BlizzCon every year.
Yeah.
I feel like when I was just there like last week. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I feel like I was just at BlizzCon, and now there's like, oh, now BlizzCon 2014. Now, Blizzard has not made any official announcement.
No.
There's no dates. It's at the convention center, nothing.
Right.
All they've done is literally update this to say 2014. But I don't know. I'm super jazzed and really excited, and I'll do the old F5 click, you know, hopefully get a ticket.
Right.
But yeah, I feel like I was just there. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that if BlizzCon 2014 is happening this year, which I'm very hopeful that it is, because I had such a blast last year. I mean, it was
it was insane.
It was so great. But if BlizzCon happens this year, I say we try to do a big show, big show. Last year was
Really
hot
big
and
show.
last year was hot and sweaty, smaller show.
Yeah, get air conditioning this time.
Yeah, no, actually the air conditioning was going full blast.
Full blast.
Full blast. And if you were standing right underneath it, you could kind of feel it, but there were so many damn people in the place. It's just
There was like hundreds and hundreds of people. And did you notice a lot of people had bloodshot eyes? Everyone's eyes were bloodshot. Isn't that weird?
That was strange.
I noticed that. Everyone had a little pink eye or something.
Right. Actually, your eyes were kind of bloodshot too, if I recall.
Everyone's was. Right?
Well, yeah. I mean, the night proceeded and people's eyes got a little, yeah.
That's right. It was a good time.
But yeah, I think that if this happens, we should do a bigger, cooler show than last
We should
year.
do it on the stage at BlizzCon. What do you say?
I'd love
Blizz?
that. I'd love that. Blizz, have us on the stage. We'll do a show. It'll be great. It'll be awesome.
right.
Like after the first day, right after the first day, right towards the end, we'll just pop up on stage and do a show.
No, I think we should do it right before, during the rating panel. We'll just all right, guys, developers, get off the stage. No one cares.
Excuse me.
Out of the way. Right.
We'll just
that'd be awesome.
we'll just throw Laura off the stage. We'll give him the hook.
Derevka, are you up for another BlizzCon? Are you ready to go?
I would probably be going, depending on conference season for me. I was actually just there 2 weeks ago. I was in Irvine and San Diego and whatnot.
Did you stop by the Blizzard offices and say hi to everybody?
I did not stop by the Blizzard offices and say hi to everybody. I may have had drinks with someone, but I did.
That's awesome.
That's cryptic.
Yeah,
I know.
totally cryptic.
Way to be cryptic.
Got real quiet and awkward there a minute.
So now the other question is, okay, so if it's happening, we're all going and we're all going to have fun. But what if it doesn't happen? What if what if we're just setting ourselves up for, oh, no. There's no BlizzCon this year. We never announced it, so there's no BlizzCon. It was just a year % sign update, type of thing. So
they're going to do it.
you think so?
Yeah, Yeah, I think they mentioned it, and I think they're going to do it. I mean, but personally, I'd be okay if they did not, because I feel like it just happened. But
well, it's a perfect landscape to announce the release date for Warlords.
Oh God. Oh yeah,
boy.
it's kind of a sore subject, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should get into that.
Yeah. All right.
Holy.
All right. Because I mean that is next up in the show notes anyway.
It is.
And it has been a bit of a slow news week because of GDC, the Game Developers Conference in San Francisco happening. But Adam
Thanks
Holinsky,
for clarifying that acronym, because I would have had no idea what you were talking about.
right. Adam Holinsky, who's over at WoW Insider, fellow Minnesotan as well. He tweeted this, and it came with a little graphic as well. This is the longest we've ever waited for access to new Warcraft content. Ever.
Whoa!
Ever. So, and then he kind of shows us, and we have been waiting 6 months for over 6 months for new content, and this is the longest we've ever gone. It was the last time that we've waited even close to this long was for the Wrath beta, right? So, I don't know. I mean, this is kind of frustrating, right? I mean, this is frustrating a lot of players out there. I know that much. I've been seeing the tweets and they have not been favorable.
Well, I'm curious, like Derevka, like there's multitude of teams, right? And they're at a multitude of levels. We're going to talk specifically right now just about raiding in general. Now, we understand also there's plenty of other content in the game, but in regards to raiding, the team that I'm on, we're on heroic dark shamans right now, so we're still progressing through. There's teams I know that are still stuck on heroic garage. And there are teams like yourself that have killed heroic garage months ago, and you're pretty much just on farm at this point, right?
Yep, 4 hours and we're done.
Right, 4 hours and we're done. So for you guys, I'm curious, from that high-end rating, are you just bored? Is it just like, oh, come on, let's go, Blizz? Like, what's the mentality or the mindset for a heroic hardcore level raider at this point?
I mean, for us, I fully admit I phone in effort through most of the raid. The only two fights that really put in any effort are Paragons and Gary. Other than that, it's just like level 90 on cooldown, like pressing buttons, and then it's whatever. The boss dies eventually. I understand. Yeah, there is stuff to do. Okay, you can go ahead and do alts and do LFR, but the last thing I want to do at this point is to go back into Siege and do Siege again, because at this point I still have an undeterminate amount of kills left of Heroic Garage. We have, I think, four more of our core raiders that still need, maybe a little more than that still need the Heroic Gary mount. So it's just like, okay, well, get those and then what? Like, all right, well, maybe I'll just DPS this week and I'll try to do that, or maybe we'll try to do random achievements or whatever.
Well, I think the question is, how do you keep your interest level up? Are you doing anything other than like switching roles or something like that? Or
nope.
Are you building for Warlords at all? Are you thinking about that? I know that you already have your team, kind of.
Yeah, our team is pretty solid. I think we'd like to maybe add one or two more DPS, because we do know there are a couple of people that are probably going to retire or whatnot. I think the big challenge that is facing everybody is this going to be a killing period of time? Like, what is keeping the raid community alive between now and release?
Yeah.
Like, just quick math, you're looking at roughly $90 of your subscription time for 4 hours a week, potentially, if you're not doing anything else or fiddling around on alts or 5-mans or whatever. And is that then going to be a killer? I think it's, for those guilds that are just doing farm and it just gets repetitive. I remember doing a year of Ice Crown. That was brutal. But you still had the Cataclysm beta that came out. Like, I think that was the big kind of point that Adam was trying to make in that tweet.
Right.
Was it's not only we've never had like a big stretch like this. It's the longest stretch we've had, and we've never even seen a PTR build or a beta build. So the question is what's going on? Like, was there a breakdown in communication? Was there a major technical setback?
Right. Well, and the biggest problem is that the communication side of it has been kind of weird, right? I mean, the Blizzard devs have said we are further along than we expected to be at this point. But they don't go any further than that. They don't say anything more than that. And that kind of puts people off, especially when they don't see any progress, really. I mean, we've seen the pre-release for Warlords, which is good, and now we have boosted 90s and stuff like that, but there just hasn't been any communication, really, right?
And I'm sure the devs want beta to be released because, one, it kind of calms the troops, and two, it allows them to talk about stuff.
Right.
Because right now it's like, well, I can't really talk about it because it's not public information. So I'm just not going to.
And the other thing is that they've released, like the healing blog, and they released some other stuff for Warlords coming up, but then there's no follow up with any new content talk or anything.
Well, really only it brought more question. I mean, it answered a lot. Like, here's our general design philosophy and our intent.
Sure.
But it brought more questions to the forefront, being like, okay, well, what does that mean for the very kind of minutia details of, what does that mean for this spell? What does that mean for this class? What's going to be moving? What spells are staying? What spells are going? And I think that is what is getting people really frustrated. It's like, okay, well, we've talked about it, but you're only giving us this little teaser, and we have no horizon.
Right.
Like, there's nothing coming that we can be, okay, well, we can talk about it more on this date. I think that's the real challenge for folks right now, is just the unknown.
Right. Colt?
It's an interesting point, too, because like Celestalon, I think, has been phenomenal on the old tweeter. He's been answering a lot of questions and all that stuff, but there's certain things that he's like, well, I can't really get into that now. You know what I mean? Or like people are like, what's the deal with this? He's like, it's changing, So I think what you said is right. I think when this info dump happens, whenever that's going to be, and I think all of us would, at this point, we just want something.
Right.
I think that would be a bit of a relief to Celestalon and to these devs, because you're right. Then they can start to talk about it. It's an interesting thing because, see, you're a hardcore raider. You've got everything on farm. For me, I'm kind of new to this heroic scene. So I'm cool. Like, I'm doing great. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I'm like, oh, this content to me is fresh. It's new. Seeing these fights on heroic. I know a lot of teams that are still working on normal Garrosh. You know what I mean? But like, that's the thing, is like, it's a tough thing for that more hardcore community that you guys have been on farm for so long. These top 1%ers have been on farm forever. And yeah, if maybe there's a beta, maybe something to kind of hold people over, but because Zug, it's funny, like Derevka and I, we're on two opposite ends of the fence. He's been doing heroics forever. I'm new to heroics and loving it. You're kind of right in the middle. How are you feeling as far as all of this content, and does it feel slow and tired?
Yeah, especially, like I was talking about before, when I was riding the bench, I was cool with it because I didn't need the gear from heroics. So I'm basically taking a night off from raiding, and then we come back and we do a clear. And that's kind of, and we do the clear however we can do it, whether it's heroics or normals or whatever's gonna, we just kind of take a look at the time of everything and say, okay, it's gonna take us, whatever, and then just go ahead and clear. So it feels a little disjointed right now for our team, because I know that there are some people that are maybe playing alts and they need certain gear still. From normals, especially from Garrosh and from the later bosses, but there are a lot of us that are just kind of sitting there going, all right, well, we have to clear this because we have to clear it.
Yeah.
Right. We need those heirlooms.
And then we just kind of wait for progression night, and then we go, okay, now we can maybe step it up again. But if you're riding the bench, for any amount of time, you're kind of like, okay, well, I can do other things. I can I can, edit the video for the show or whatever. so it's like I
be
could,
jeweled.
that's right. And that's what it was too. I was like playing Hearthstone for part of the night. I'm like, getting my daily done on Hearthstone.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, it's just, it's weird, right? So, it does feel like it's been a long time. And I know that we only have a much longer time to come as far as in this patch. So if they came out with a beta, that would at least alleviate some of the, I don't know, Siege has been around for 6 months, doldrums kind of thing.
Right.
So.
I think the thing that people tend to forget, though, it's not just, okay, here's the beta, that people are making the immediate assumption, oh, the beta's out, therefore everyone will be able to be in, and that'll be the distraction. It's, no, the beta's out, which means there's progress in the development of Warlords, as well as the fact that more information will be dispersed.
Yeah,
I think they were pretty clear saying that they're not going to make the beta as big as it was.
They have not said that this is going to be an open beta at all. They have never mentioned those words. Yeah. It's beta, not open beta. So
I think it's going to be much smaller and probably a lot shorter.
And that's what a lot of people have been saying. So there is that. And I'm guessing that, people will still be able to stream stuff because they've always been pretty open about that stuff, haven't they? As far as like NDAs. I don't think
they've ever had even Heroes. It's technical alpha.
Yeah, and people are streaming.
Twitch is going all over.
Right,
anyway.
right. So
I mean, I'm sure there probably is a closed thing that no one really knows about, but you can't.
Right.
But then again, this community isn't necessarily the best at keeping things secret.
Right. maybe Blizzard knows that, so they're just like, you know what? Screw it. We're not even going to have an NDA or anything like that. Oh, let's just go. Let's just put it online. It's fine.
Right. Well, I think that what I think the community would love to is there's going to be a lot of class ability changes. So maybe let's start rolling out this information. I would almost love, like, one thing that's kept WoW going for me is that it always changes. This game has evolved completely from where it was in vanilla to where it is now. And from changes from the talent system, the addition of glyphs, everything, class changes big time. I love it when they roll out those class changes before the new expansion. You know what I mean? So you can like check out how your class is and blah blah blah. Like, I would almost let's get the classes going. I want to see how the new classes feel like now. And raid Siege of Orgrimmar with my new abilities, or actually my less amount of abilities, and how everything feels. Like, I'd love to see that squish. Now. Sooner rather than later, and the new changes.
Well, and I think that a lot of us are like, I'll take anything right now. Ruby Sanctum, bring it on. Let's do Ruby Sanctum version 2 and just have something different, one-off boss or something like that. I don't know. Well, maybe not Ruby Sanctum exactly.
Ruby Sanctum was this like total pity thing. It's like, okay, we know we're being slow, so here's a random dragon that got stuck inside a tree.
Right.
Oh, it wasn't that bad.
Well, the worst part about it was that you had to go through those 3 mini bosses, which didn't give any loot whatsoever, none. And then you get to the boss, and the boss was
those little trash.
Then you
things.
just wipe forever. But those mobs took it took like an hour to get through those mini bosses, right?
That's true.
So
mechanically, it was an interesting fight. I just didn't. It just felt throwaway. It was more of like a
and the loot that they did.
I have a shiny ball. Who's a good dog? Yes. That's what it felt like, right?
Well, and the loot that they did give you was not that great in the first place. So I mean, it was like
stop. It was. If you were in 25, it was. Back then, the loot was different from 10 and 25.
Right. But I was in 10. I was in 10, and I was getting like a 4 eye level bump or something like that, and it was just like nothing. So
25 had all the good stuff. I remember.
Yeah, 25 always had the good stuff, though.
You got Emblems of Frost.
Oh, that's right. Gosh, yeah, I remember that. Holy cow. Remember that? Oh, jeez.
Oh, wow.
Badge loot.
Back in the day.
That's like Valor now, I guess, though.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
But he did have a good, that weird trinket thing. They all had like kind of this awkward trinket that was like either really good or really bad.
I don't remember.
Am I making that up?
I don't remember that.
Italian. Didn't he have like a good healing trinket?
The
one that like It like splashed around you.
I can't remember the
like
loot from that. We did that boss like we killed that boss like twice, and then we were done. We were like, you know what? Screw it. I don't need anything from this.
Yeah, glowing twilight scale. It had little splash healing around you. It made you heal around whatever.
Well, here's
green numbers.
Yeah.
Here's a question for
you.
And this is something too that we're going to talk about, and that is this. So, Miss Pandaria.
Yeah.
Content has been fast and furious. It's just been like boom, 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 boom.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been coming out so fast that even at the years ago, but earlier, players were even saying that it was coming out too fast.
Yeah.
That the content was just go, go, go. And everyone was like, this is amazing. Like Blizzard is delivering on their promise and in getting content out faster and more regular. And it was this entire expansion content has been like boom, 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 boom. But now, as Rossi was saying, now we've hit this lull. We've hit 5-4. And we were kind of, the three of us were talking pre-show. Is this because they were rush this entire expansion? And now, like, did they release content too quickly? Meaning that it was like, go, 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 and now we wait.
Right. Well, I mean,
if had they spaced it out more, would we be in a better place now?
They definitely rushed it, and you know this stuff. And actually, Derevka, I'm gonna let you make the point about what we were talking about earlier. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it did seem really fast, especially for the amount of bosses that were out there. And I'm talking about for normal teams or those teams that were starting to get into heroics before the next raid patch, right? So for those guys, it was really, really quick, especially for the amount of bosses that we had. And I was going crazy. I was just going nuts. And even heroic players were going nuts, right? Right, Derevka?
Yeah, I mean, it was fast. I mean, look at just tier 14, the first tier of the expansion. There was 6 in each of Heart of Fear and the Mogu one, Mogushan Vaults, and then Terrace had 4. So it's 16 bosses. Now, if you look at just on a heroic level, of those 16, Throne of Thunder, that patch dropped March 5th. So by March 4th, only 145 guilds in the US, 10 and 25 combined, killed heroic Shah of Fear. To date, US 10 and 25 combined, 229 heroic Garrosh kills.
Yeah.
So you have, you're approaching almost double.
Right.
At this point. And I'm fairly confident, and this is just conjecture at this point, that there's fewer overall guilds between the start of the expansion and the end of the expansion. That's just my own made up number, but we'll assume that that's factual. Right?
Let's just assume a bunch of crap. What do you say?
Right. No, I mean, it's anecdotal, right? But
yeah.
But the point being is that you only had 145 kills of heroic Shah before Throne of Thunder dropped. And heroic Garrosh has 229, just US based.
Right.
That's a huge disparity between the two, and then you still have months and months left to get heroic Garrosh kills, which I understand the last tier tends to be a little bit longer, and they want to give everybody the opportunity to kill the penultimate boss for the entire expansion, and I get that, but only to a point. I mean, it just seemed really fast. Like, okay, Throne of Thunder, ready, set, go, and Throne of Thunder was pretty quick. We did farm heroic Raden for several weeks, but it didn't feel like we were farming it for like too long.
Right.
It just felt like, okay, we're killing Raden and people are getting their loot and we're moving on to the next tier, decked out.
Well,
now it feels.
And you guys are kind of used to waiting, right? I mean, you guys are used to kind of chilling for a bit.
To sound snotty, yeah, we are used to kind of waiting in that space of just farming the bosses for a while. But Throne of Thunder and Mogushan, that gap just felt really compressed, and it set the tone for the expansion of, all right, stuff's going to be coming out quicker, and we're going to be coming out with new stuff faster and faster and faster. Okay, fine. People kind of bought into that. People accepted that as the status quo, but then all of a sudden it's like, okay, here's Siege of Orgrimmar. And you're kind of just like, that's it.
Right. Colt, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think you're right. I mean, even before the show, you were saying, I think it was you got down heroic Shah, and then like, what is it, 3 weeks later or something? Here was Throne of Thunder.
Throne of Thunder, yeah.
Yeah. So So that's I mean, that's crazy. I mean, it's not crazy, but I just think that, I think maybe that the content was coming out so fast. And, and that's good for players, especially it's good for the hardcore raiders that you guys don't have to farm and farm and farm. But maybe it just went so fast that here we are now at 5.4 and the brakes have kind of been put on. We're used to this like new content.
Yeah.
And now there's no new content. And everyone's like, what the heck, Blizz? Because we're used to this certain pace.
Right.
And so maybe at this point, it's just caught up with them. You know what I mean? If maybe they had spaced things out, like add an extra month or 2 months in addition to what they did, maybe, guilds would still be just starting heroics now, or just getting into heroic dark shaman, on their way,
Well, and it was kind of weird because Bashiak actually posted up this. It actually came from somebody else's tweet about the duration of the different patches within the different expansions, right? So we have this graph in front of us, which kind of spells out a little bit of how the different how the different patches have rolled out. And Mists of Pandaria is very, very quick. And you can see that from this little colored graph that was kind of out there. And Mists of Pandaria as an expansion, so far anyway, has been really, really short compared to all the other expansions. Right? So, I mean, it's
right.
They have been going at a kind of a breakneck speed. And I'm wondering, I know that they said that they wanted to bring content out quicker, and I think they were trying to make sure that everybody was busy. But is that such a good thing in the long run? Is that what's going to sustain this game over the slower times like right now? Or should they extend that out a little bit so they can work further ahead on the beta? Because we know that they work ahead, and that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe they should slow down a little bit so that they have a little bit more time to work on that beta or on that next expansion before we hit that last content patch. Just kind of
agree with that if they weren't touting the opposite for years. I mean, I have a bunch of stuff. I'm not going to take it all credit for this. One of my guildmates did a bunch of research and kind of got a number of quotes that's on a thread on our guild forums. But there was a November 21st interview with Ghostcrawler with PC Gamer. We really want to get the cadence where we can release an expansion quickly. Once a year, I think, would be a good rate. I think the best thing we can do for new players is to keep coming out with regular content updates. That was just this past November.
Yeah.
Also in November with Rock, Paper, Shotgun, I think we've always said we'd like to deliver an expansion every year. They've said that several times. But the one that I think is really interesting was a Gamescom interview with them, and it was just August. The team size has increased by 40%, and then another 40% increase is planned. That's just for the Warcraft team, which will hopefully allow for a new content patch, a new raid every 3 to 5 months and an annual expansion. Like, they've been gearing up to do content in the 3 to 5 span, and then X-Pack annually.
Right. But they've been doing. My point is that they came out with new raid patches every 4 months. Maybe if they would have stretched that out to 5.
I'd be happier.
That it would be that they would slow it down just enough so that maybe this lull wouldn't be quite so lully.
Right. Mm-hmm. Only point that I will give them is Ian said this over almost 2 years ago at this point, but we were committed to trying to release updates with more frequently than we have.
Sure.
So I feel it's possible for content to come too frequently. And that's really the interesting question is, I mean, obviously Ian runs the raid content developing portion of that team.
Right.
All right, did we do this too quick? Are we cutting people off at the knees and not giving them the opportunity to enjoy the content that we've spent tons of money into doing? And I understand you can't balance for the top 10% of the gamers.
Right.
And I get that. And I've come to terms with the fact that, yep, I'm going to be doing farming. That's fine. But I'm not expecting to be doing farming for 6 to 8 months. At that point, that's interesting. And then I read an interesting point someone made was, are they setting up teams to fail as a result of this delay? So you have teams that really are normal teams, but by extending the duration of the tier, they're going to get geared up more and more and more, and the content will become easier and easier for them, and they'll then go heroic. at first blush, that sounds great. But then are they going to then try to immediately go into Mythic and set themselves up to fail when that drops in Warlords? Not saying I agree or disagree with it, just an interesting point I read on I want to say it was maybe MMO Champion forum somewhere. Just bringing that point, are they setting these teams up to fail by being like, okay, you know what? Now you're now heroic. You're 8 of 14, great, right. Or 9 of 14, whatever. And are you setting them up to be disappointed when they can't do it again in the next tier? Just because they've had 10 months of doing it versus 4 months of doing it.
Interesting point. You're a smart fish. You're a smart fish, Derevka. You really are. Bring up a really good point. Yeah, it does seem a little bit odd that we've been at this for so long. So
I think something happened. I really think there's some major technical setback that's causing something.
I kind of think you're right. Like maybe with the item squish or something like that, with the entire number squish that they're doing, maybe something isn't working there. Or
Ghostcrawler stole of course source code and ran out the door.
Of course
they were done with the build and they were ready to hit go, and then oops, Windows update, and they're like, oh no,
and they're still updating to this day.
They lost everything. Yeah, it was a mess.
Yeah. They're about to hit 1 of 972. Do not reboot or power off.
They went to 8.1 in Windows, and now nothing works. Yeah, no,
that's right.
But it does seem like it seems like something's wrong. But the problem is that they're not saying anything, right?
So I think that's the thing. They're not saying anything, and no content is being released. And when there's no, like we had the healing blog, so everybody talked about the healing blog, you know what I mean? And when there's not much coming out, what happens is players start to, think and wonder and like, oh, well, what's going on? I'm not doing anything. There's not something I
think.
Yes, right. But you know what I'm saying? Like, if people don't have a new piece of meat to chew on, then they're going to chew on their own cheek. That doesn't make any sense. But I'm just saying that. Like if they got nothing that they can read or interact with, then they're going to be like, well, I'm bored. There's nothing to talk about or do. The game must be in trouble, or I don't know what's going on. Right. So I think that Blizzard, they need to release a new something. Like the players, the natives are getting restless here. They got to come out with something new, whether it's a new blog. I think everybody wants this info dump thing ASAP.
Yeah, and we've seen it. It hasn't been an info dump necessarily. It's been some good information that we've gotten in the last few weeks, which is always nice. They have done some things to ease the pain.
Yes, that's
and the week before last, we saw the pre-purchase for Warlords come out. And so we saw the level 90 boosts, which means that LFR can be crazy for a couple of weeks. Which is always interesting to see on the forums and on Reddit and every place else on Twitter. Now, Derevka, have you bought Warlords?
I have bought Warlords.
And so, did you do the level 90 boost?
I did. I am in the minority. I boosted my Death Knight.
I boosted my Death Knight too. Look at that.
So we're the only two that did it.
Right? Did you do it just for the professions?
No, I had all the professions.
You boosted a DK. Oh, you already have them all, so you don't need them at all?
Yeah, this was like 97.
And so
90 number 7. So I was like,
90 number 7.
What do I do? I did all the healers first, and then I did my mage.
Yes.
Oh, the mage.
Excellent.
But MMO Champion did come out with a graphic for the percentages of boosted classes. And I thought it was kind of...
Number 1 class was the God class.
Yeah, Warlock.
Warlocks.
Warlocks were number 1, Shaman number 2, Druids, then Hunters, and the lowest was DKs at 5.5%.
Yeah, we should have done more than just R2.
Yeah.
I'm surprised Shaman were up there.
Shaman healing
because
is
from a healing perspective, it's kind of okay. DPS, again,
it's sitting in a good spot right now. Right? Shaman healing?
Yes. Dude, that Shaman enhancement, that burst, holy cow!
But don't you only get it once every 2 minutes or something like that?
But they burst for 1,000,000 damage. I've started playing an enhancement Shaman on the side, and I'm kind of gearing them up. And what's so funny? So I tweeted to Celestalon, and I said, hey, are there going to be any enhancement Shaman changes in the priority?
Enhancements?
Yes, enhancements for Warlords. And he gave this like amazing response, and he like linked logs, and he talked about all this stuff. And what was funny was then I got a ton of tweets and emails like, what the heck? You abandoned the mage. Now you're abandoning the monk. Now you're playing shaman. No, I'm just playing an alt. It's just a shaman on the side. My main is going to be my monk. But it's fun. Enhancement shaman is fun. It's crazy.
Right.
So I'm just learning that. But yeah, Warlock was number one, and I think that it's got a lot of things to do with their numbers have been great.
Right.
They've got the green fire. A lot of people have been interested in the green fire type quest. Getting to see that. But yeah, Warlock, Shaman, Druid, and then Hunter. And the lowest was Derevka and Pat Krane with their DKs. You were the only two.
That's right. Well, and
so I was foolish. I took my Death Knight in to try to solo KT to get the Phoenix mount. And I did it as blood because I wanted my Death Knight to be a tank, and I forgot that bloodworms are an eligible target for the mind control. And he'd mind control me. I'd kill my bloodworm, and then I'd be still under mind control, and the fight would reset.
Oh,
that's awesome.
Oh, man. That's hilarious. That's funny.
So then I went to Frost and killed it.
I was actually pretty surprised that Hunter was so high, because I thought everybody already had a damn Hunter.
Right.
But not at 90. Maybe at like 80 or 85.
I've got 2 at 90.
Right.
I'm crazy.
Well, that's commitment.
Right.
I realized that about paladins, because everybody's got a paladin. I was like, wonder why paladin is so low. I'm like, oh, well, it's because everyone has a pally. That was
my first one I leveled up.
My paladin is at level 19 still. Actually, I think I got it to level 20 so that I could ride around. That's it. And then I'm like, I'm done for a while.
I'm out.
Well. Yeah,
speaking of monks, though,
yeah.
Even with the boost, monks still are the lowest represented class in WoW, according to MMO Champion, at 6.37% overall.
Right.
What? Come on, guys!
You gotta
say their amazing raid cooldown.
It's because of all their raid utility, right?
Yeah, that's right. They bring so much utility.
That's right. Just yeah, I don't know.
Monks are an incredible class. You got to try it out, guys. You got to try it. At least the Windwalker and the Brewmaster. I haven't tried Mistweaving yet, but Windwalker and Brewmaster is just fun. It's just awesome. You got to try it out.
Yeah, Mistweaving is fun. It's pretty good. You know,
I liked it. I mean,
definitely
different. I didn't like the mini game of Mistweaving for me. That's probably the reason why. I leveled all the healers. I like to have all my healers at max, so I get a general understanding of how my raid team will work with different healing comp.
Yeah.
But the mini game of how many renewing mist can I get out in the raid was not fun to me.
Yeah, no, that's a little bit of a pain. That's for sure.
It's like, and then if you mess it up, or you misclick, or you miss time your keybind for your empowered uplift to reset it. I'm blanking on the brew, but it's now no one has it, and I have to start all over again.
Yep, that's the way it goes. That is the way that it goes. It's kind of a weird mechanic, that's for sure. So, but it's cool, and I think that the disparity between monks and other classes is just because it's new. I mean,
because you have to start from level 1.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Anymore.
Well, that's true.
Anymore.
Yeah, not anymore. But if monks started like DKs at 55, we'd have way more. But it's just people looking, that's a big hill to climb. And now with the boost, but remember the boost, that's $60, man. That's a lot of cash.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
it definitely But I say go to the PTR and test out the class on the PTR. That's the best thing you can do. All the classes are right there on the PTR. You can create a level 90 monk on the PTR. Test it out. Check it out. See if you like it. And if you like it, then boost it. Do that with all the classes.
Try before you buy.
There it is. There it is.
Walk around Costco and trying that random Swedish meatball.
Exactly.
That's a weird analogy.
That was
no, but it's excellent.
It's fine for this show. For this show, it's perfect.
Better than chewing on meat than chewing on your cheek. So I think you're doing just fine.
Right.
I actually thought that was a rather salient analogy.
Well, thank you. Wow.
Yeah.
Right.
let's get back to the other conversation, which is ways that Blizzard has eased the pain for all of us while we wait. And the other thing that they did this week was that they made normal and heroic rating now cross-realm.
Whoa.
I know. This is huge, guys. And so normal and heroic are now cross-realm. Everything is cross-realm. Everything is cross-realm, so now you can get together with people from all across World of Warcraft land and enjoy the experience, or continue to hate the no new content with other people. Though you can do it with new people, which is always good. So, Derevka, have you gotten in on the cross-realm stuff for your
I
group?
logged in on Tuesday. I did my kills and then logged out. No.
And then
I haven't done
played
any of it.
and then played Heroes for.
I did play
hours.
Heroes for a while. I mean, I get the point of what they're doing, right? The whole, all right, let's. On one hand, it makes things a lot easier for guilds that are trying to prepare for Warlords, particularly if they want to go immediately into Mythic. It allows them to kind of test waters with maybe a guild merger before committing to the expense of the transfer to one guild or another.
Yeah.
That is an interesting theory, but again, it falls back into still don't know when Warlords is coming out, so why do I need to commit to doing that type of recruiting just yet?
Well, I don't know. 25 man is a new challenge. I mean, for those guilds that have been around, that have been 10 mans for so long, and they're trying to recruit, 2/3 of their team essentially, or 3/5 of the team, into Warlords. This kind of makes a lot of sense, right? So then you can get really almost super prepared and get those players in place before you actually hit Warlords.
Warlord. This WAD business. Jeez Louise.
One thing you are seeing is you see people trying to already quote unquote sell kills and clears by bringing people over,
which I've never
giving
agreed
them.
with.
Here you go. You get the mount.
I've never agreed with that.
No, we've never done even like on realm gold expense for a kill, gear, or even the mounts.
Why don't you describe, for those guys that don't know what this is, describe it a little bit as far as what other guilds.
It's like, okay, we'll carry 5 people through an entire heroic kill. You'll get your pick out of the following items because they're not needed by anybody in the guild, and you get the mount. It'll only cost you sometimes real money. Some people will actually carry you for real money, or if it's on realm, gold to then augment the guild bank for the next expansion. It's not that uncommon. More common with mounts in previous expansions.
Yeah.
But now with cross realm, I think you're going to run into a lot of people doing real cash for it, and then very much the pay to win model. And it's dangerous. If it's really dangerous, I think you'll see that happen. And you're already starting to see people advertise for it.
That's wild. That part is kind of a weird can of worms to get into.
It makes me like sad, not in the like, oh, I'm sad. It doesn't ruin my play, right?
Right.
It's just sad. It's like you're ruining the entire experience. But then again, like, who am I to judge that person if that's what they get enjoyment out of doing it, and they have that type of disposable income? Who am I to say that that's bad?
Yeah.
I mean, am I going to make a moral judgment off of it? Yeah, probably.
Right.
Yeah, I'll definitely secretly judge this, but it's more of a secret judgment than
just between us.
Just between us kids, it's really not great. But
how much do you think I could get for like a Flex Immersius kill? You think I could sell that?
I have an empty soda can. Nickel.
That'd be
Nickel
great.
in it for yeah.
We're now doing runs for Flex.
That's right. We'll talk after the show.
Right.
I can guarantee a Flex Immersius kill.
Just wing one. Let's not get crazy.
Well, no, not even wing 1. Whoa. I'm talking just Immersius.
Right. I could probably say, we'll sell wings 1 and 2. When we get beyond that, as soon as we hit Thok, it'll be a nightmare.
Ah, geez, don't sell anything. I'm actually really jazzed about this cross-realm raid thing, and it's interesting what Derevka said, and it's true. I'm excited for it for recruitment, for getting prepped, for getting ready for Mythic. Now, people do not have to be on the same server. That's great. We can recruit anybody. They don't have to pay for a transfer. They can be on any server they want, and they can come raid. And this can continue in Warlords. They don't ever have to be on the same server. And we can still raid together every week and have a great time. So I think that this is a great tool, a great way for raid teams to get together. Like Derevka even said, guild mergers, that kind of a thing, to get people prepped for Warlords in the raiding scene. So I'm really jazzed about this. And it's pretty cool, the tech, man, that you can now do this on normal and heroic. That's pretty awesome.
It was weird, though, because it was like a couple of weeks ago, Ian Hazzikostas, again, lead encounter designer for Blizzard, he said that they wouldn't be doing this because they couldn't unlink normals from heroics, and then all of a sudden they just go, you know what, screw it, let's just turn it on.
Right.
So why did they just say, okay, well, let's just open it up? Do you think that they made up this change because they're doing it because there's no new content, or do you think they're trying to make up for something? Or I mean, why do that, especially when 2 weeks ago it was we can't do it? I guess that's the question. Derevka, do you have any thoughts on that?
That's interesting. I don't think I've ever thought of it as a method of extending the content by allowing people to play with a broader net of friends. It's interesting. I think that may be part of the decision process. But yeah, I think it is a little bit odd. They're like, oh no, we can't do it. And then nope, just kidding. Here you go. I think it could very well be a method of allowing people to enjoy it longer by playing with a larger group of people.
Right.
One thing that I think is important to point out that we may have accidentally skipped over is realm-wide and guild achievements still require the appropriate number of people in the same true guild to trigger the achievement or realm first spam.
Yes. So you will not get away with without having a guild group.
So 25s, you need 20 out of those 25.
Right.
One thing I need to correct, actually, Mythic is not cross-realm. I misspoke. That is server side. So it'll be great for recruiting, for getting everybody together, get your team all set. You can go through heroics and all that jazz. But when it comes to Mythic, they then are going to have to transfer and be on the same server. So I spoke incorrectly. So thank you, chat room, for catching that.
But for now, I mean, having everything cross-realm is really great. It'll get those teams that have been doing 10-man heroics, get those guys kind of prepared a little bit for what's to come in Warlords, and that part is really cool. So I kind of like that, but I do kind of wonder if they're just trying to extend it or trying to buy time because there's no new content. That's I mean, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, right? So I don't know.
Some are saying in the chat room they want cross-faction rating. Oh! What do you think about that?
Derevka, what do you think about that?
Woo!
I mean, that's the suspension of disbelief that we all apparently like. Gnomes throwing fire, totally fine. Horde and Alliance playing together, game over, right? No, but it does ruin the whole aspect of the war aspect. We're supposed to be hating each other and being, at such conflict. I get the argument. Of why you want to be able to play with your friends regardless if they're Horde or Alliance. And there is the overall population imbalance that's a fight to be had. But they've drawn that line pretty aggressively in the sand, saying that that's something they did not want to do. They did not want to go down that path of having Horde and Alliance have a kumbaya moment and skip down the road together and let's go kill a boss. And no, that's not how this is going to work.
This is still an RPG game. So this is role-playing game. You choose a side and then you find friends that have also chosen a similar side to you.
Right. Or you pay money and switch sides.
Right. So I don't know. I mean, it is kind of one of those things of you made your bed, now lie in it type of thing. So
yeah, you get dogs and cats living together.
Right.
It's total anarchy.
That's right. Bill Murray. All right. Well, anything else? Any kind of wrap on this conversation that you want to do before we get into the next section, or you just want to go? What do you think? Maybe we should just.
I don't think I have anything to say.
All right.
Mark the date.
All right. Well, then we will just continue. We'll keep an eye on this as always. I think that's the important thing, is that we'll be checking in with this and probably As no new content is released, we will talk about this more, right? I don't know. But for now, we're going to move into leading the raid.
Leading the raid.
That's right. When we can, we take a look into leadership issues for raid leaders everywhere. And this week, we take a look at a listener question. And Koltrane, can you help us out here?
Sure. He says, this is from Geezo Pete's. Geezo Pete's. I dig it. Troll Warlock on Koltrane. He says, I am on a medium, low population server, and my guild has been having a hard time getting a group together for Siege of Orgrimmar. With the advent of cross-realm normals and heroics, there is finally a beacon of hope for the guild. We can now use pugged players from Open Raid and OQ to fill our roster out. What are some good tips for effectively corralling and leading people that my group has never run with? Love the show. You guys keep my commute tolerable. Cheers.
All right. Well, thank you very much for the question. Geezo Pete's.
Geezo Pete's.
I do like that one.
I love it.
I love it. So now we're talking about with the cross-realm stuff. Now we can add in all these new people, right? So especially using OQ and Open Raid, keeping that in mind. Derevka, do you have any thoughts on how to corral people for this?
Eye level. No.
Just eye level. Oh, damn. Going against everything we've ever said on this show.
It's all about the eye level. If your eye level is above the loot that will drop that you're queuing for.
Right. Then you're good.
Then you're good. That's right. No, I mean, one of the things that Open Raid has that I think is really underutilized is the feedback system. Like you actually can provide feedback on the person, like, were they prepared? You can rate them on a scale of, I think, 1 to 5. The hard part is if you're just now getting into Open Raid, you have no history to kind of look at that. I think the real key thing is you can always have you can tell a lot by how a person communicates, even just through basic whisper.
Sure.
Do they sound like they're being immature? Do they sound like they're just going to be a jerk? I think at that point, it's all about, are you going to have enjoyment having 2, 3, 4 hours with this person in your mumble?
Right. So if they,
and that's kind of the point you have to.
If they respond to you, I'm leet. Maybe
with 3s.
Right, with 3s and a 7.
Right.
Maybe that's a cue for you to take. I don't know.
Right. I mean, I think that's always part of it. Is the point of it is to be playing with friends. That's kind of why cross realm exists. And I think Open Raid does kind of blur that line a little bit to being playing with strangers.
Yep.
But it's just making the number of servers a little bit more flat. Kind of like the world is flat, quite literally, in that space.
Sure. Koltrane, any thoughts on this particular question here, as far as like corralling these people and getting them together and getting them kind of on the same wavelength as the rest of the team, I guess?
Yeah, I think it's a great point that Derevka mentioned. Open Raid and OQ, the feedback thing is huge. That's great. But the real thing, man, is we got time. So just raid. Just bring them in and just do it. Just do the content. You're like, people are different. Like when they type, they say, "Oh, I'm very patient and full of understanding." But then when they're wiping over and over again, then you see the real person come out. You know what I mean? Then you see what they're really like when they're in the trenches. So I'm saying, get everybody in the trenches ASAP. Sure. See how everybody behaves. Make notes. Who do you like? Who don't you like? Blah, blah, blah. And have your own little list so we know to invite this person again or to not. You're going to see their behavior. Are they a loot lady of the night? Are they, how do they behave? I don't know. There's kids that listen to the show.
No, I know. I just thought it was hilarious.
Right. So are they a loot lady of the night, or what could they be? So, but I say, just get them in there. See how they react, see how they interact. Because people, when they're in the trenches, they behave very differently than they do on an application, than they do, in general.
Right.
I'm also a big fan, too, if you have time, the interview process. Like, get on Mumble, get on Vent.
Yeah.
Talk to these people. Get to know them. Ask them a couple of questions. What were your favorite fights and why? What do you like about this? Why do you enjoy your class? And let them speak. You can get a sense of someone pretty quickly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just always keep an open mind, but yeah, just talk to them. Just general communication and what they say to certain questions can kind of help you out. Find out what kind of raider they're going to be.
And I would say that, it all starts with how you present the raid time as well. So if you present the raid time as, say, hey, we're looking to bolster up our team for Warlords, and you could be a part of that, and here's kind of the expectations for our time together, and kind of set those goals right up front, you can actually present yourself in the best light for whatever you want to accomplish. So when you're setting up those events on Open Raid or wherever, OQ, you can actually, edit yourself a little bit and say, okay, here's who we're going for. Let's target those people that we really want and give them some expectations for the night. Like, we are a 10-man going to 25. We expect to wipe a little bit as we kind of grow and change, but we're looking for new recruits. That's perfect. So, and I think considering the what we just talked about with the last part of the news and with this leading the raid question, maybe we should open it up for those guys that are 10-man now going to 25 and say, how can you change from 10 to 25 rating as well as getting all these strangers together from cross realm stuff. So Derevka, maybe you should start off here. What are some of the key differences as far as raid leading goes from 10 to 25?
Well, on a 10-man, you can kind of have a single person do most of it by themselves, right? Because they're not herding cats, so to speak. In our guild, we're all fairly autonomous at this point, but it's not uncommon to have, okay, this is the healing lead, and the healing lead, they're in charge of managing raid cooldowns and healing assignments if there are healing assignments. And I think that is critical because you can't have the one raid leader leading the raid and managing raid cooldowns and healer chat, as well as figuring out, well, here's the interrupt order, and here's the raid positioning that we're going to be doing in this room, and you 3 stand on square, and you 7 stand on star, and you over here on moon. It just gets, you'll slow the entire evening and the pace of everything down. At least with Something Wicked, we have a healing officer, or it's an officer who happens to be a healer actually, and he pretty much manages cooldown rotations, and then we do kind of all work together as a group, more so I think than in a 10-man, because you're looking at only maybe 2, maybe 3 people on a 10-man with a healing group. But I think one of the biggest challenges with going from 10 to 25 is dealing with the fact that you now have 2 leadership structures that may be very different from each other. You may have one, this person is the raid leader, and that's what they were used to doing on their 10-man, and now you have the other raid leader. And are they going to work together? Maybe.
Right.
How do you deal with that? But then you also have to deal with the clique aspect of it. It's us versus them. It's now not an us and them. It's a we. And that's a very difficult thing to kind of bring on. I think I mentioned this actually last time. It's hard to call something a merger when in reality it probably is an acquisition. Right. And managing that from a culture perspective is very challenging. And I think the cross realm aspect will allow you to make sure that whatever guild cultures you have, they'll mend and kind of merge well together. You can't just be like, oh well, guild ABC, they're 7, they've killed the first 7 bosses, and we've killed the first 7 bosses, and their heal comp is about the same as ours. This should make sense. If the people don't get along and the structure doesn't make sense, it's just going to be set up to fail. And I think that's where things
Well,
this cross realm,
one of the
help.
when I take a look at OQ and Open Raid, this is also a chance for not for guild mergers, but for individuals to come into a new group, right? So, I mean, there's that aspect of this as well. I mean, this whole cross realm thing is just opening up everything for everybody, and it's like the Wild West out there all of a sudden, because you have all these guys that just are like going absolutely ape on this content, and they're really trying to figure it out like right now. And it's like, we have time. We have
We
time.
do.
You can cool your jets a little bit here, but I know that people are kind of anxious to get going. Now, Colt, what other aspects, and this could either be for raid leaders or for raiders that are coming into these groups that are going from 10 to 25. What do you think that, from your aspect, what should people be expecting from this?
Well, it's a very good point that you have, you're a 10-man team right now, right? So
Yeah.
in that 10-man, you've kind of gelled together, right? So you've got, so-and-so always calls out the cooldown, so-and-so kind of always does this. You've all got your roles that you kind of do. Well, now you've doubled in size, and you're bringing in possibly another 10 people, possibly another 10-man, and they have those roles as well.
Yeah.
So I think communication right up front. Like Derevka was saying, maybe there's a healing lead. There's this guy is in charge of all the healing cooldowns. This guy is in charge of talking about this. You can't have everybody just jibba-jabbing like crazy, calling everything out during the raid in a 25-man setting. It's going to be complete chaos. So
Yeah.
I think if the foundation is strong, everything else will be good. So everyone is kind of in agreement. This is going to be our raid leader. He's going to be calling this out. This is going to be so-and-so. Maybe assigning roles, I think, might really help that type of thing out. And actually, Zug, I'm curious for you because my 10-man team will be going to 25, but you guys did it. You guys went from a 10 to a 25.
Yeah.
How has that been? What has the transition been like for you?
It's been a little weird, right? I mean, it's cool, don't get me wrong, because we have all these great new people that have joined us, and we've had a blast with them. We really have had a blast with all these guys that have come into the fray. And we really love that. But from a management position, it's gotten a lot tougher. It really has, because it's gotten a lot more chaotic. We are now counting on guys that have not traditionally, over the course of this expansion, really, have not been a part of the leadership aspect of it. And everything is kind of slowed down. So that's the thing that I would bring into it. Pacing for those guys that are in 10-man going to 25, things are going to slow down, because now all of a sudden you have to worry about, loot. If you're doing like a loot council, things are going to slow down. Or if you're doing, it depends on what you're doing with loot, but that's going to slow things down. Your encounter leader is going to slow things down, because now we actually have to talk about how we're doing this, how we're changing from 10 to 25. And now we have to talk about all these different things, and there's a lot of back channel chatter as well, because with Mumble and the guys that have been watching Derry's stream of our raids kind of know this, but we actually have what we call the super secret channel for Mumble, where we can kind of talk amongst the different leaders of the raid. And it's interesting. Sometimes it's very funny. But it's like another thing. It's like another thing that you're piling up on top of your regular raid night. And so you add all of these different aspects. You add everything together, and it piles up to a lot more time that you need, which is why we went to a second night, because we knew that 4 hours would not be enough to make the transition from 10 to 25 going into Warlords. So it's that's really the biggest thing, is that the pace is a lot slower. So So I don't know.
And that pace, I think, will increase as now the 25-man team starts to gel.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? As now it's a 25 group, that is going to start to gel. I think the pace will increase, but yeah, you're totally right. I mean, we've all got that thing like in the 10-man. All right, you ready to pull? Wait, hold on. I haven't eaten my food buff yet.
Right, exactly.
All right, hold on. I forgot to, do this, or I'm out of pots, or can we do a repair mount? Like, there's just a lot more to worry about, because that's that times, there's now 25 people.
So there's a lot more discussion. There's a lot more slowdowns. There's many more things to get in the way of you as you progress through the night. And so we're kind of figuring that out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the leadership is more holding up everything than the Raiders. The Raiders want to go. They want to pull. They should know the basic strats anyway for a lot of these fights by now. Even in 10-man, a lot of it crosses over to 25 pretty well. So that part is fine. It's just that the leadership and everything that's new and different about 25-man raiding is slowing the pace down, and it's a difficult transition. So that's what I would say.
Derevka, Something Wicked always been 25, right?
Yeah, we've always been 25 ever since. Yeah, I mean,
ever since
25 has been
forever.
around. Yeah.
Before that, were you 40-man?
I don't think they were around.
Or were they not? Okay.
I wasn't there. I came on board in Cataclysm.
Okay. Gotcha.
Oh, you're a cata baby.
No, I've been since vanilla. We've had this conversation.
What?
He's just with something wicked.
With something
With
wicked.
something wicked.
Right.
Well, that's what I thought. So I was like, wait, what? All right.
What?
Gotcha.
Or not vanilla. Classic.
Classic. It's not
Classic.
vanilla,
Classic.
people. It's classic.
It's vanilla. It's fine.
It's classic.
It's vanilla. It's vanilla.
It's classic.
All right. Anything else that we should say for those guys going to 10 to 25 or those that are trying out Cross Realm at all? I think it's a really cool thing that they've opened it up, but there's going to be a lot of change that goes with this, and so just be ready for it.
And I would think just be welcoming to the new people. Don't think of them as, we're our 10 man and these new people are separate from our original 10. Like, you're naturally going to feel that because you've been gelling with these other 10 people. But just be open and know that they're there to help you, and we're all going to work together here and kill some bosses and get some loot, baby, because it's all about the loot.
That's key. I think you're right. I think you're spot on with that, is making sure that whoever you're going to be raiding with, you're reaching out and trying to be social with everybody. It's very easy to be like, oh, you know what? Let's create a private channel that only the 10 of us are going to be in chat, and we'll share our private jokes, and you'll just be estranged from the rest of the group at that
don't
point.
do that.
And you see that even sometimes now in 25s where you might recruit like 3 or 4 people from the same guild that collapsed and they kind of all applied together. They end up dealing and staying together as a group.
Right.
Which then also makes it very volatile. If they all leave, you now lost 3 people. Now, if they all leave, you now lost 10 or 12 people. Now, what do you do?
So then it gets very cliquey, and then you have all these little separate groups within the larger raid group. And, you know, to some extent, you got to
break down barriers.
Well,
all sorts of.
To some extent, you have to expect that, I think. Because
you will.
That's always going to happen, right? I mean, you get
Totally.
more than
human nature.
You get more than, you know, a dozen people in a room, and you're going to start to break off into smaller groups and, like, you know, run heroic scenarios or go, you know, do some arena or whatever. So, you know, you get that all the time. But yeah, try to work together. Try to keep communication as cohesive as possible during those raid nights, and it'll be a lot better, I think. So, all right.
Absolutely.
All right, let's go into some Q&A.
We've got mail.
We do, and if you have a question about anything for us, about raiding or anything else, just let us know. We'll try to answer it on the show. Email us at converttoraid@gmail.com, or you can call our raid line, 612-787-RAID, or you can join us during the live show. Try to flag us down, and we'll see if we can get to it. I know that right now we're looking a little long in the tooth, so we'll do, let's do one.
You just call us old?
No, the show.
Long in the tooth means old.
The show
Can I start
running
calling you
long.
like Classic
running long.
Pat?
Sorry.
Vanilla Pat?
Yes, you can call me
Vanilla
Actually,
Pat.
Vanilla Pat really works
Vanilla
out
Pat.
much better.
I'm Classic Cold.
Oh man.
Vanilla Pat.
Oh man.
I dig it.
All right, let's. Hey, Koltrane, can you read the question in green? Actually, it's 2 questions.
Sure, this is from T-Shay in the Convert to Raid Guild in Airy Peak.
Yeah.
First question up. I now have the DPS Legendary Cloak on my Shaman, but wonder if I should have gotten the Healing Cloak. I can get another Legendary Cloak for 7k, plus about 50 gold once I've had a Legendary from Rathion's Merchant. But I wonder if you can own more than one at a time.
And the answer to that real quickly is yes.
Yes.
Yes, you can. All right.
Woo! It's 7,000 though.
Yeah, I know. It's a lot of dough.
I had to buy the Brewmaster cloak, you know, for a tank, and I was like, 7K? It's insane. Second question.
Yeah.
While I've succeeded at Flex 1 and 2, I failed miserably at Thok. That beast has grown since LFR. He does his interruptibility, and I couldn't see how to heal. In a random Flex group, I was told I suck and was kicked. I haven't tried that one since then. How does a caster do anything at all in Flex on the Thok encounter? I have not even dared to list my name for Flex 4 after meeting Flex Thok. Garrosh scares me.
All right. Well, thank you for your question. And Derevka, you play a healer. You're a priest.
I do play a healer.
He's a priest.
He's a priest. So how does one heal in the Thok encounter?
Devo all the things. No. Well, that is true.
Yeah.
We're lucky. We have 3 paladins, so we chain devotion aura to make us silence immune. But almost all the classes have some sort of instant that they can kind of work in and figure out what talents will work best when you're limited on your cast time. Right. So I use as discipline, I'll use my inner focus when Diva Aura runs out, allowing me to get 2 prayer healings off within the silence, the interrupt immunity that exists. Or if you have to use the shaman instant cast ability, what's that one called? The one that makes your cast time not a cast time. Oh, whatever that one's called.
Nature's Swiftness.
Thank you. Nature's Swiftness. Make sure that you're spec'd into Nature's Swiftness. But a lot of it really depends on your overall raid strat. Did the paladin that's in your group use devotion aura too early? Are you guys not stacking up fast enough and you're getting to mid 20s in the stacks that he has? Right. You really, that fight is very heal comp dependent. Right. If you have a lot of paladins, you can extend that first phase super, super, super long. Yep. If you don't have a lot of paladins, you have to rely on being inefficient, power word shield spamming. And sometimes you have to shorten it and you have to you have to go through all 4 phases to get him down. And that's really kind of where Thok varies based off of raid comp. Sure. That is arguably probably the most raid comp specific fight in the entire instance.
Well, and she's playing a shaman, and shaman have kind of a hard time in this fight.
Times.
I mean, it's all about cast times, and so
Totems.
Right, exactly. That's what I was going to say. Is you really have to know your shaman cooldowns for that fight, because you need to make sure that you are given every single advantage you possibly can. Because for shaman, it's tough, especially as the stacks increase. You just can't get those heals off in time.
Yeah, well, shaman can be very powerful if they can get a blessing of protection. They can use their ascendants while using blessing of protection, just like a holy priest can use divine hymn with bop and trank with bop.
Yeah.
And also unleash elements healing rain, baby.
Yep.
Like those healers, you got all that stuff you put on the ground, all that goodness.
Yep.
And that just ticks with healing, man. So you don't even have to be doing anything. You unleash elements and you throw down a healing rain, and whoo, doggy, those green numbers are just ticking away. You got that. You got your totems. You got your healing stream. Then you got your big healing one, whatever that thing's called. I don't remember. But on that fight too, there are a lot of classes. Druids, they've got that little mushroom thing that creates the healing circle. You know?
Efflorescence, man.
Efflorescence, baby. So there's a lot of stuff there that you don't actually have to be healing to heal in a weird way.
Right. You set it and forget it.
There it is, baby.
It's just like I don't know what it is. Anyway, we got to get out of here. But thank you for the question. That's awesome. But we need to give a little shout out to listeners who recently gave us a 5-star on iTunes. Koltrane, can you do that for us, please?
5-star reviews. Thank you so much. Go to Kiyomiya13, Math Guru 83, and Slobber Grabber.
I love that name. Slobber Grabber. That's just it sounds so visceral, I guess. Yes. Any shout outs this week, fellas?
I've got a shout out.
Yeah.
There is an individual on Twitter, goes by the name of Spaz Wesson. That's at SPAZZWESSON.
Yep.
And this individual does all of my fortune cookies.
Oh, wow.
And it looks cool. It's like a picture of me with it says fortune cookie says, and it says what the fortune is. So follow this individual on Twitter. They've got all my fortune cookies, the majority of them.
I actually do follow Spaz, I think, and now I'm going to unfollow Spaz.
Yeah!
Let's see. Let's do that right now.
Brilliant.
Unfollow Spaz Wesson.
So thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. So thank you, Spaz.
Well, thank you.
Give a shout out to Pat for wearing his Kesha Roar Tour t-shirt.
Wow.
That's right. It's my Roar Tour t-shirt.
That's right.
Is that a Druid t-shirt, or is it really a Kesha t-shirt?
No, it's not a Kesha t-shirt. Well, it's an animal. It has a bunch of different animals on there that all roar. And I bought it because I do play a Druid. So, and a lot of them are represented.
I'm gonna stand by Kesha.
It's totally Kesha.
Yep.
K $ha.
Ha.
All right. Well, thank you guys for all that you do. Thank you for taking the time to rate us on iTunes. Thanks for all the comments on YouTube, the different things that you guys do to promote this show. Thank you guys very much. Thanks for the feedback and the questions. And feel free to join in on all the conversations we're having at any time. But first, bail on the music.
He's going to bail out?
Yep.
Bail out of that?
Bailing right out, and I'm going into this one.
Yeah,
There we
love
go.
this one.
You can email us at convertraid@gmail.com. You can call us and leave comments and questions on our raid line, 612-787-RAID. That's 612-787-7243. You can follow us on Twitter at convertraid, or what are those individuals there, Koltrane?
You can follow Pat Krane at Pat Krane. You can follow Koltrane at _Koltrane. You can follow Darius at Bored Mind. And Derevka, how do we follow you?
At Derevka, DEREVKA.
Here, I'll put it down on the bottom of the screen right there.
Woo!
If you didn't see it in the rest of the video, it's right there. Right there for you.
He's a priest!
That's right. And you can join the Bazuba Guabo Nation by heading over to convertraid.com, where we have show downloads, forums. Our videos are over there, as well as on Gamebreaker TV. Tons of links for raiders and so much more. That's all over at convertraid.com. Our live feed and our video show is also available on Gamebreaker TV. Please watch, like, comment, share, subscribe to our videos. It's very good stuff over at Gamebreaker. And our audio show is available on Stitcher, the BlackBerry Podcast Directory, iTunes, all sorts of different places. And that is going to be it for the show. Derevka, thank you for joining us today. It was lovely talking to you. As always, you're very fun. You're like a mushroom. You're a fun guy.
Oh, jeez. Oh.
That was like fortune cookie worthy.
I know.
Like,
and I think
you're indebted to bongos.
Colt, don't boo it, because I think you actually used it for a fortune cookie at one point.
I actually did it. It's brilliant. I gotta admit, you know what's funny? I had to hold back a huge laugh on that one. I was like,
Nice.
brilliant.
All right, well, that is going to be it for the show. Thank you to the crew here. Thank you to you guys at home. Thank you to the chat room for joining in on all the fun. We will see you on our next show next week at our regular time, Sunday, 11 a.m. Central. And for all the guys that Convert to Raid, bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Derevka!